sometimes I'm like, yeah, like up for it, ready to go. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, the thought of it is just so not even.
You're listening to Relationship Renegade, the show that brings you hard truths and realities, all of them, about relationships. Okay, I'm your host, Dr. Jameson Mercier, licensed clinical social worker and doctor of marriage and family therapy. As we do every Saturday, my co-host Mia, what up, girl?
Hey, how are you guys? I cannot wait to talk about this subject.
We kind of jumped the gun a bit, and I had to say, let's just stop and hit record, and let's just, if you can tell us some of what you were saying. We're talking about dating in this time of COVID, guys, and me as the resident expert.
Oh God.
On this topic, yes, you are.
Okay.
And it's funny. Married people sometimes envy single people who date, like just the way they do it. But I don't envy y'all one bit right about now.
I don't envy it right about now either.
I really don't. So we're talking dating during the time of social distancing. And
yeah.
I mean, Mia, it's your show. Tell me, how are you doing with the dating scene?
Well,
that good, huh?
Yeah. It's really interesting. I kind of have a love affair with dating. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, like up for it, ready to go. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, the thought of it is just so not even in my wheelhouse right now. So I kind of go back and forth a lot with it. And this time of dating has been really freaking weird. I will say that. I was talking earlier to Jameson before we hit record about this this article that I was reading, because I want to hear what other people are saying about this time, because I have my own beliefs about it, and what I've been hearing some of my girlfriends saying about it, and in just a nutshell, we all don't really like it.
You and your girlfriends?
Yes,
like your crew?
My crew. But I think we kind of had that attitude before the pandemic.
So is that a general disdain with dating?
No, it's just sometimes the way online dating it is just the essence of it, I guess.
Okay.
It just just kind of having these kind of conversations, and they kind of are dead end conversations. So you're having to do like a lot of sifting, and the sifting part is just really energetically just draining sometimes.
Hold on. When you say sifting,
yeah.
what exactly is that?
So when you're online dating,
I don't know.
You don't know. When you are online dating, you are matched with people around your area. If you have your little location setting on, or whatever your preferences are that you put down, you get matched with people. I don't know what the algorithm is for it, but you get matched. And so depending on how active you are in it is how many matches you're going to kind of have. So you can have a lot of matches. But when I say sifting, like you have to go through those matches,
okay.
And so
you gotta weed them out.
You got to weed them out. And if you get a lot of them, you are going to have a lot of the same conversations. I'll tell you this story really quick because I thought it was the funniest thing. My friend told me that her friend has like a Word document that she copy and pastes like introductory
Oh my
like
goodness.
things, because you're doing it so often, like, hey, how are you, to like the same people, or not the same people, but the same, in the same way. And so she's just
Wow.
like over it. It's like,
So that poor guy who he's just being copied and pasted. That's the kind of conversation that he's having.
but you know what,
Wow.
honestly, like when you're active on the app like that, like, and you get matches, say you get like 15 matches a day, like it's really a lot of work to like
So
keep saying,
is
hey,
that
how are you, hey, how are you.
so that's realistic? I'm assuming because on I guess I know
Yeah.
I'm asking 15 matches a
Mm-hmm.
day because in I guess non-digital dating we don't
Uh-huh.
check out 15 people a day. I mean, we may not check out 15 people a month.
Right. Yeah, that's true. um I mean, I guess it kind of depends, like sometimes, you'll get I don't know, maybe 3 or 5 matches, and sometimes you'll get a ton of matches. It just kind of depends.
Ah,
um I
man,
don't
maybe
really know what it depends on, maybe the day, maybe, I don't know. But so you're presented with just a ton of potential suitors, and I feel like it can be a really draining process when you're like sifting,
wow. Okay.
because you're not just doing that for like 3 people like you maybe traditionally would, or 2 people that you're kind of dating
Mhm.
casually. You're like doing it times 10.
Wow.
And then you're trying to carry on these conversations if you match.
You got me thinking about so I listen to NPR. I'm an NPR nerd and I love Planet Money. And there's an episode that they recently re-aired about people dating
Hmm.
online but being
Hmm.
really thinking like an I'm sorry, economically thinking like an economist, right? And so this might be helpful to your friend who's copying and pasting dudes, um, but maybe to you too. It's just you got to be strategic about it, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And I sometimes I just lose interest, truthfully, where I'm like, oh, it's kind of like the same thing. And so I kind of get a little desensitized to it. Um, and so that's why I say, like, I have like a love affair with it, because sometimes I enjoy doing it. And then sometimes I'm like, gosh, this is just, I don't want to deal with this right now.
Uh,
Um,
so I guess maybe this is where I'm a little different, right? So if I were dating online, there's no way
mhm,
in hell I'd be coming with the typical, hey, how are you? Because
right.
10,000 other dudes are sending the same
Uh-huh.
message,
Right.
right? So, guys, let this be a lesson to you. Don't say, hey, how are you? Okay. I mean, don't be total dorks, but try something different.
And I think, when you're kind of in that space and you're getting the, hey, how are you, or like whatever, like you see the people that actually read what you write on your profile, and then you see people that are like, okay, like this is a standard greeting, like at least give me something that makes it a little more personalized.
Mm.
um
But I guess the question then is, I mean, why would they? Because they're just sifting as well. And they may be,
right, and they could.
wow.
Yeah, it's Jameson, welcome
No, no,
to the
no, no,
world.
no.
Welcome to
I am not
Yeah.
entering. I'm not entering into that world.
No, no, no,
Wow.
no. You're just through me.
Yes,
um,
vicariously.
yes, exactly. But, anyway, back to the point about, the dating during COVID during this time. So, the article I was reading said that Hinge, which is a pretty popular dating app, the messages had gone up like 30%. And like one day, Tinder had like 3 billion swipes. Just imagine that. 3 billion people swiping.
What
Like
is
people are
that?
pretty active right now.
Yeah. Is that 3 billion swipes total or 3 billion people swiping?
Didn't specify, just that the app had 3 billion swipes. So I'm
Regardless,
imagining
it's
that
still a lot. So if that's 3
that's a
billion
lot of
people,
activity
that's a
on
lot of
the app.
activity. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So, I've heard. Mhm.
so I'm just wondering if this is purely just because people can't connect um physically. Is it people are lonelier now? People are like, I don't know. I'm just
Mhm.
wondering what's driving it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's like people that are definitely having some time to be by themselves and figure out, like, maybe they're reflecting, or maybe they just like the fact that it's so convenient. And, even before COVID, like people were using like these dating apps as kind of like an ego boost. So they're
Mm,
getting like that quick fix of, you know, of whatever it is, like I am some validation maybe. Um,
okay. I
so
see.
yeah, so I think it depends. I think some people are really in a space where they really want that ego boost. I mean, who doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some people I are like, wow, okay, like I really want to have a connection with someone, because now we're in something that's so crazy. Um, I really feel alone.
Yeah, you may want someone to share that with.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and so this article was saying that it's like, the best time to date is right now, because sex and money are off the table.
Well, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. That's if
exactly.
they're off the table. If
If
unless
well,
unless that's what you was looking for.
Hi, we are the Mercier kids. Like what you hear so far?
Make sure you never miss a show by clicking subscribe now.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
right. Which, some dating apps like Tinder kind of had that reputation for a little while, that it was kind of like the hookup app, that you were just looking for a good time.
Hmm.
Um, so, I it's definitely interesting. They were also saying that like the conversations and the messaging was a lot longer than it had been before, in this particular article. Um, but yeah, I do. I think it gives, having some of the things, the distractions that you kind of have when you're dating, um, or having to go to restaurants or go find something creative to do
Mm-hmm.
outside. You don't have to do that anymore. You can try to do some online dating. Um, but you know what is interesting in my personal experience, though, is
Mm.
that oftentimes, or for me, it didn't translate to in person. So you could have a great connection with somebody online and talk and have like be kind of chill about it, because you don't have, you are trying to impress someone, but you're not like on all the time. Um, or you're just like talking to them a lot during your day to day. And then
Mhm.
when you actually get to meet them in person, it's like crickets. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we've already talked about everything.
Wow. And so we actually kind of alluded to that in a previous episode, like the expectation just,
Mhm.
it's totally opposite of what you were hoping or expecting.
Yeah, those great expectations, right? Um,
Hmm.
and then, there is multiple like experts or people in this article that were kind of going back and forth, and someone mentioned that they just are so against like the FaceTiming and the Zoom calling, like it's so intrusive. So they had, this article had a bunch of different experts chiming in about their experience with this time and dating. And one of them was just like completely just disgusted with the idea of having to Zoom call anyone or having to come up with a Zoom date, or, we don't even like to be in person in our professional life.
This is an expert, like what? An expert on relationships?
She was, what was she? I think maybe she was just like a columnist,
Okay.
like a journalist. So not like an expert on,
Okay. And this is just based, so she's against this based on personal
just it. Yeah, just personal experience, just the awkwardness that ensues when you're FaceTiming, or, to be honest, like I totally got where she was coming from, because it's the thought of like someone FaceTiming you right off the bat is like, ew, like he didn't even, like he barely knows me. Like, why does he want to see my face? And
but check it though, Mia.
uh-huh,
In real life, that's all they see.
correct.
So why the different
I wish I knew. I don't know. It's like this aversion. Like, what? Like, how are you?
how
Why are you
how
FaceTiming me?
how dare you try to get a peek at me?
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know. It's like the culture of it, I guess. It's just like, wait, we're not there yet for
Oh
you to
my,
like,
to see my face.
for you to see me. Okay. Like, we didn't plan this time. I'm not, like, what are you thinking? Like, how dare he, like, or how dare she, like, she's FaceTiming right now? Like, what?
You're not
Um,
following the rules. What if it was an accidental FaceTime call? Like now you're totally like blacklisted.
yeah,
That
I don't know. I don't know any of my friends or myself that if there's been a accidental FaceTime call that, you stop talking to them, but it's definitely gives it a pause. Like, what?
man. So okay, so what I'm trying to imagine. So okay, so you swipe, you click, you whatever, and then you're chit chatting, and then you have to set up like an online date, like during COVID, right?
Yeah.
I've seen commercials,
Hmm.
but that's TV, so I don't know if the commercials are mirroring anywhere near what's really happening out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been more, at least because we're in Florida. So um, I don't want to say things have been laxed here, but I don't want to say that they haven't. um,
We're special here in Florida.
yeah, Florida is a special place. We're not for everyone. And so I don't know if I can truly say that there's been this uh, dates online. I still think people are going out, um, at least here, and from my own experience, but also my friends' experiences, like they're still going out and meeting the person that they met online. So it just happens to be that the conversations are a lot longer than what you typically would see, because there's some people that are um, out of a job and all that stuff that contributes to some things like going
Mhm,
out and stuff. So
mhm.
and now there's kind of an understanding, where before it would be like, oh my gosh, he's unemployed or works for himself, and you're like, oh god, like what does that
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
um
Everyone's waiting for their stimulus checks. Everyone's in the
yeah.
same.
Yeah, you could go, you pick one place, anything you want. um but it's definitely been an interesting time, um to say the least. But on the flip side of that, I definitely have seen and have heard of, um, my friends who are doing this online dating more active than I am,
Mm,
um, are, saying that they're just straight up being ghosted. And ghosting is just terrible, I think, in general, which I think what we're going to try to do an episode on that later on. But
mhm.
um, just this idea of like having these deep conversations, or you're starting to get to know someone, and then it's just kind of like, hello, is anybody there?
Radio
um,
silence.
Radio silence, or they're no longer matched with you or something. So um, that's been really interesting too, to hear from other people that they have been a little bit vulnerable with, like, because you're talking longer.
And you know what? Let me jump in here. So I guess that's something that I'm thinking about as you're explaining this and schooling me. Um, Anytime that I've met someone and we've started texting
Mm-hmm.
or emails,
Oh gosh.
there's absolutely no or very little disclosure and vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
involved. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about way back when, because I've had the option, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now it's almost like at some point eventually you're going to have to like self-disclose and be
Right.
vulnerable, or else you risk losing that match or connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you do that with these 20 people a day, now it's like everybody knows your business.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be
Yeah.
concerned about that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like and I think that's where it kind of goes hand in hand with like the FaceTiming thing, like that boundary for you. Like if you're not ready, if you haven't disclosed things, or like whatever, I don't know, you're like really early on and someone like wants to see your face like right away, people are like, that's weird. Like we want to talk more before I'm like gonna answer my phone with a group of my friends, or that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Is that typically who's guys or girls pushing that to see your face first? Do we
I
do
mean,
we
I
know?
can really only speak to myself, and it's definitely not me.
You're not trying to see the
I'm
guy's
kind
face,
of,
Mia? Are you sure?
I mean, I'm not, no, it's so interesting. Like, I'd rather personally, I mean, everybody dates a little bit different, but personally, I kind of want to see if there's even like a nice banter happening, if there's any kind of like, this person's really funny kind of thing, like kind of the things that people think that are
Mm.
just that don't actually matter. But for me, that's really important. And so if I can't even have a conversation with them that doesn't have like a ton of like awkwardness.
Now, but see, here's the thing with
Hmm.
that, right? So what
Yeah.
don't you risk, like, so you have all this great banter and all of this
Hmm.
snarky humor and
Hmm.
conversation, and now you begin to imagine him or her
Hmm.
as like a beefcake, or she's like
A beefcake.
she's like a Halle Berry, or Beyonce, and like
Yeah, I mean, with all these like dating sites too, like you have pictures of them, that that's kind of the first thing you see. Are you attracted to them? And then you kind of go from there. But in terms of like requesting a picture, I kind of like wait to see if it's something that I even care about, because I already know I was somewhat attracted to them because I swiped right. Like I liked it, I liked what I
okay.
saw, I liked what I read. So before I'm like, hey, like, you want to send me a picture? Like, and I wouldn't say it like that, but
I was gonna say, is that how it I
I'm
was
like,
gonna
no, I like to think I'm a little bit more
man, Mia,
suave than
you are
that,
you
but
are just going straight for the not even gonna
I can
ease
just tell
into it.
you're like really enjoying this conversation.
No, let me I am listen, I know I've been with my wife for almost 20 years now. And
Awesome.
we know we date.
Hmm.
We, COVID's kind of, shaking things up. But
Hmm.
listen, I can imagine married people listening to this conversation and just being like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is that?
I think that too. Like, what is this? um,
And let me just
yeah.
say, I'm not saying it to judge. Okay.
No,
It,
no.
it's it's
Hmm.
it's like a fascination thing, honestly.
Right.
Because I'll share this. When I think I was in college. So I was in
Hmm.
college, 2000, and so that was not necessarily the creation of the internet, but it was pretty damn close. And
Hmm.
so there's a lot of these groups that started forming online, and I found myself getting into like these groups and talking to people. And then you
Hmm.
do, the more you talk to someone, you form a connection.
Right.
And then at some point, you find yourself talking to more people more often. And it's like, wait, are we in a relationship? What do you call this? Like, why are
Mhm.
you telling me that you're going to work now, or you're going to be gone for the weekend?
Right.
Like, do I want to know that? Should I know
Hmm.
that? And then,
Right.
mind you, I'm also like, I don't know, 19 or 20. And
Hmm.
so as you're talking, this is where my mind is going. And it's sounding like I don't recognize it. So
Yeah.
I am totally fascinated.
I mean, it's definitely, it's just weird. It was weird before the pandemic. It's even weirder after and or during. And it's you still have strange people, that you connect with, and they're just really forward, and you're like, okay, block.
Okay.
Or you get the people that are, just they want to know a little bit, and then they're like, hey, can you send me a picture of yourself? Like, I don't know what this is, this new fascination of like sending nudes, as they say,
Mm,
or sending like very suggestive photos. Like, I'm not really here for that personally, but some
yeah.
people are like, this is what I want to do. This is my sexuality. Go for it. Do your thing. Um, I just think it's strange when someone asks you for
Mm,
it.
mm.
I don't
There's
know.
a
I think
whole,
it's weird.
yeah, there's a whole other side of this where people really do need to be careful,
Hmm.
with the whole online dating piece and who
Hmm.
you can link up with and who you meet up with.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's not this conversation, but I just want to slide that in there because
Hmm.
you don't know who's on the other side of that connection,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
you got to be careful. Um, let your girlfriends know what you're doing when you're doing it. Just be smart about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, this article was great because it did bring to light some things that we had been talking about with my circle of friends. Um, and one of them was that it has increased the trend of people rushing to the easiest way of flirting without getting rejected.
Mm. Yeah, so that's big when you're dating live.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
that shutdown is
it.
hardcore, man.
Yeah, and I think we forget about that even as I'm thinking about it right now too. Like, um, just I guess how many people you get and you have to sift through or carry these conversations with, and then they're almost in a way, for some people, just kind of disposable. And I think that is very, people just don't realize that those are actually human beings. Like, it's not a game. These
Mm.
people that you're matching with,
Yeah, that's a good
um,
point.
you're not, even though you might be getting an ego boost out of it, like whatever you're doing, like they're still a human being, unless you're being catfished, which cautionary tale.
Mhm.
Unless you're being catfished in some way, then that there's a human being with feelings and stuff on the other side. So when it's just the easiest way to not be rejected, or just to kind of discount something because you're like, oh, well, whatever, you weren't really invested in it.
Right.
It's just something that I need to consider as well as maybe our listeners that are listening.
Mm. No, for sure. Um, Now, let me ask this, which is,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would imagine, and I know I've met couples who met online and
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little awkward, but when is it not awkward, that you're meeting someone for the first time? Um, but they've had long lasting relationships and fruitful relationships.
Yeah.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I think there's, a stigma about online. And we've talked about some of
Mm-hmm.
them. Some people judge couples who met online, like, oh, why couldn't you have met someone in person? But
Right.
there's a very real possibility that you find
Mm-hmm.
someone that you want to live with, spend time with, have a relationship with online.
And I do think that that's some of the attraction to online dating is the the possibility that it can be more than just a quick conversation. I think that there are definitely people out there that are like, you do get to have a lot of people that you match with, or whatever, versus like going out to a restaurant, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there's your pool is bigger, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
um so when you think about it statistically, that's great. And yeah, I know people that are in a relationship with someone they met, and people that have got married off of like Tinder or Bumble or whatever, Hinge. And I think that they were able to have like those deep conversations. They were both at a place, where their timing was right too. And they met, they had this connection, and it was a really deep connection. It translated from online to offline. And there you go. Literally a match made in heaven.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's just important to highlight that because
Right.
it's so easy to lose sight of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then those people, again, like I said, they are like, well, we met online, and they can be a little shy about saying that
Mm-hmm.
when, because it's not the traditional or the norm, right? But guess what?
Right.
Norms change, and they're changing as we speak. So,
Yes. And I'll leave it to it this, that the article also said that people aren't meeting people in the traditional sense anymore. Like, people prior to this pandemic weren't looking around the room for people. They were looking in their phones.
interesting
Um,
point.
yeah, they're looking down. They're looking down at their phones, not up at what's around. And so I do think that online dating is a fun thing. It can be fun. It can also be really uh, like a circus. You get you really get to meet some really interesting characters in a pretty quick fashion. But then you get to meet some people that are just cool.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really awesome too. And maybe it translates from the profile to person, and then
Mhm.
sometimes it doesn't, but it's definitely an experience. I think every one of my girlfriends and I have had similar experiences, and also really just funny stories.
No, for
um,
sure. I bet.
um, so I don't know. Online dating is not for everybody, but I do see an increase in people's willingness to give it a try during COVID.
Yeah. Not only is it not for everybody, but it also is different today than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
because I'm thinking when I first heard about online dating, I
Hmm.
think that it was eHarmony
And
and
Match.com, right?
Matched. Exactly.
Yeah.
And now with the inception, the you interject these apps and all
Hmm.
these other websites, it's like, whoa, now
Right.
it looks
And
totally different.
and to your point before, there used to be, at least in my age group, there used, you know, people, when it initially started coming out that online dating was something, there was kind of like oh, you met this person online, that's weird, why couldn't you meet them in person, kind of thing. But
Hmm.
I think now it's a lot more acceptable. You're like, oh, really? You met this person online? That's awesome. And download the app real quick. Um,
Mm.
you know, but yeah, I don't think it's as weird as it used to be.
No, it's definitely not as taboo for sure. Um, and then,
Hmm.
however taboo it might have been before COVID, COVID is making it less taboo by the swipe,
Absolutely.
by the swipe and the click.
Yeah. By the 3 billion swipes in one day, I would say it's getting pretty normal.
Yeah. Wow. Huh. Okay. Okay. So if you're someone who is an online dater and we've totally gotten it wrong, let us know. Let us know. Reach out to us with a comment, a review, and let us know where we got it wrong. If you got some experiences of your own you'd like to share, we are all ears. Share this
Hmm.
with your friends, your homeboys, your homegirls. And I was gonna say, let's get those likes up, but this is this is not that. Either way, we appreciate you guys joining us and having this conversation with us. Thank you. Thank you. Share it. Let your people's notes join us next week for for the other installments and those that are to come in the future. But also come back on Wednesday for our regular episode of the of Relationship Renegade. Yeah, this dating thing is definitely different, I'll say.
Hmm.
But any final thoughts on that, Mia, before we sign off?
I mean, for our listeners that are in this boat with me, just don't take it too hard. Don't take it too personal. But definitely leave us a comment if you have something fun, because I can guarantee you do.
Okay, there you go. Thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to having you with us next week. Take care now. Bye-bye.